Hi guys, I'm Rainey.
And I'm Mike.
I'm a nanny.
And I'm not. And today on Oh So Simply, we're going to be talking about things that nannies wish they knew before becoming nannies.
Yep. The first and biggest one for me is boundaries, knowing the boundaries between being a part of the family as a nanny and also the professionalism that comes with having any job. So, for example, being a nanny, you want to be able to fall into the role of being a part of the family and being close and intimate and being a friend and a confidant. You want to easily be able to fall into that, which means that first, one of the biggest things I wish I would have known is how important it is to have a detailed contract that you've discussed with the family and signed before starting the job.
Okay. That's generally pretty good advice for any kind of job. But what kind of specifics are you talking about in your contract?
I'm mainly talking about having clear responsibilities listed out. So, for example, listing every little specific detail of the job that you'll be doing. So, doing things like, I will be feeding the baby, I will be changing the baby. Having that specific list of things will keep the family and you clear on what your job responsibilities are, your job role, and will let you easily be able to turn into a friend or a family member without feeling like you're being taken advantage of or without them being able to even have the room to take advantage of you.
Okay. So that way, if you have every little thing down, like just asking you to do something else beyond that, you can just point back to the contract if it's something you're uncomfortable with.
Exactly. And you don't have to feel uncomfortable about pointing back to the contract. You'll be able to feel confident in that contract, and so that'll save your relationship with your family. You won't have arguments happen or anything like that.
Okay. So what else about under boundaries here?
So another one that I think is super important to know before becoming a nanny, and something I wish I would have known, is that the kids will be on your mind 24/7. This is not a kind of job that you can punch in and out of at the beginning and end of your workday. You will always be thinking of them. You'll be thinking of fun things that you can do with them. You'll be thinking of things they like or don't like. And if you're walking past a yard sale, you're going to look at a toy and say, oh, I bet you my little one would just love that. And you're going to buy it for them. And you may or may not put in your contract, you may or may not have in your contract that their parents have to reimburse you for all toys you purchase. But either way, you will want to buy it, even if it is with your own money. So you do get heavily invested in your kids.
Yeah, I just want to say, anytime we're going past the yard sale, Rainey stops and comes back with a collection of kids' books. And our house, we don't live in a large house, so our house is a little overtaken by kids' books. But,
I like to have things for my little ones to read. And, I mean, come on. Who of us hasn't been bored by the same bedtime or nap time story over and over again? Like, how many of these do we have memorized, people?
Yeah. Anyways. Okay, so what other kind of boundaries do you need to be concerned about?
The last boundary I think is super important, which is something that you need to discuss during the main interview, the first interview, is parenting styles. I know that many times in my past, and I hear a lot from other nannies, that they think that the parenting style or the fact that they don't get along super well with the parents is no big deal because the parents aren't even going to be home most of the time. But what they're not realizing is that parenting styles and disciplinary styles, which are included in parenting styles, will literally determine how your day goes because you want to implement and personify the same parenting style that the parents and the children already know in that family. You shouldn't be bringing something new to the table, and it's really hard to discipline kids that aren't your own. And so with that being said, it's important that you talk about those things up front.
Okay. Do you have any stories about boundaries that's happened in the past? You want to keep everyone anonymous, but
boy, do I ever. No, but I do. So there's a few examples. One in particular was just that I had been with this family for close to 2 years, and it started out with the little things because I was there 5 days a week. I was with these kids all the time, and I loved them. I really did, and we did everything together. I taught the youngest how to brush her teeth. I taught her she was potty trained by me. I taught her how to pick out an outfit, just everything, And it just started little by little that I was being asked to do things that weren't having to do anything with the kids. And it was just thought like, oh, of course she can do it. She's already at the house. Of course she can stay and decide to be at the house all day because the refrigerator man is coming over or the dishwasher needs to be replaced. And it was the little things. But then it slowly started becoming that I would get this like list of requests at the beginning of every day of things I could do, places in the house I could clean, things I could organize, just different chores that really the mom or dad should have been doing that then I was doing. And I did start feeling taken advantage of. Thankfully, they were great people and I had a good relationship with them. So I was able to just voice those feelings and they definitely backed off. But if it hadn't been them, if it had been anyone else, it could have gotten a little dicey.
Okay. So that's something you wish you would have known before becoming a nanny.
Yep, watching out for those boundaries.
Okay, so now, things you wish you would have known before becoming a nanny about money.
Ooh, money is my least favorite part of my job, especially as you feel like the kids are your own,
I don't know what you're talking about. Money is the favorite part of any job I've ever had.
I guess what I'm talking about is the fact that you're doing this not out of the kindness of your heart. So while you love the kids, you do still have to be paid. You do still have to have the business side of things covered. For example, one of the things I wish I would have known beforehand is that being a nanny, you're very unlikely to get health insurance or dental coverage or anything else that you get from being a general employee. Those usually don't come with being a nanny, and that's kind of tough because then you're kind of left on your own to figure those things out. And also, with that being said, another big challenge that I had in the beginning was whether or not to become a W-2 or a 1099 nanny. Thankfully, I've done a ton of research and I've learned from plenty of mistakes. And now I have an article all about being a 1099 versus a W-2 nanny.
So let me ask, as a nanny, do you have to be a W-2 or do you have to be a 1099?
So as a nanny, you can be either one. It really comes down to what you're doing, who's calling the shots, whether you're deciding, what your schedule looks like, where you nanny these kids, or if the parents and family are dictating how your job is supposed to look, what's supposed to be done, what your job responsibilities are, when your availability needs to be open. If they're determining those, you're probably a W-2 nanny. The majority of nannies that I meet are W-2 nannies. There are very few of us that are 1099 nannies, and it's because we basically just come in knowing exactly what we want and telling the family that and telling them kind of how it's going to be.
Okay. Well, that's kind of a deep subject, and we've got an article about that. You guys can go listen, or you guys can listen or read if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there anything else about money that you wish you would have known?
Yes, I wish I would have known earlier on to stop short selling myself. I undersold myself plenty of times before I realized that being a nanny, there's like a ton that goes into it. So you can ask for a decent wage. So now I'm able to be part-time with my part-time nannying jobs. I'm able to provide.
So by decent wage, you mean like half of minimum wage?
I definitely do not mean half of minimum wage. By a decent wage, I mean, for example, what I currently am making is almost 3 times our minimum wage. So I'm able to make plenty.
Okay. And just as a little plug here, we've got a nanny rates calculator on our website. You can go check that out. We'll have that linked in the article.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's move on. So, what are some things that you wish you would have known about nannying regarding limits?
So, as an employee in any other job that you have, you clock in, you clock out, it's done. You either have a physical job or you don't. You either have a desk job or you don't. As a nanny, you have all of the jobs. All of the jobs are your job. So there's way more physical work involved than what you would probably imagine. You're constantly lifting and putting down children. You're running after them. You're chasing. You're bending down to clean up the spilled milk. You're reaching high. You are lifting heavy things like the kids, but also if you're moving furniture to vacuum underneath it, or if you're lifting boxes to rearrange, you're putting the two small clothes into boxes and then you're taking the boxes out to the garage. Like, all of those things are very physical. And then also so I guess what I should say is what I wish I would have known is how physical the job was. And I wish I would have bought clothes to match the job.
Ah, okay.
Yes, yoga pants and leggings are your friends, ladies. And gents, honestly.
Yeah, don't forget about the manis.
Yeah. Khakis and jeans, those are your friends and even occasionally a good sweatpant. Like, let's be real here. You're going to be in their house the majority of the time or in your own house, and nobody needs to see you. And the kids for sure aren't judging you because they're wearing a plethora of colors and patterns anyways. They probably think you'll look great.
That being said, you probably don't want to offend the parents, so,
Don't just literally roll out of bed, but parents will be pretty understanding if you're in some really relaxed clothing. And another thing I wish I would have known ahead of time was the emotional toll that it was going to have on me. That is one of the bigger ones that I wish I would have known before becoming a nanny, is just how invested you get in these kids. You feel like they're your kids. You see them grow up. One of my little guys that I've been with for a year, you guys, I was with him a year and a half. I had him his whole life because I got him when he was 2 months. He just started toddler university. Isn't that the cutest name of a daycare you've ever heard? Toddler University.
Shout out.
Yeah. Shout out to them. No, but it's so hard. You're seeing them grow up and knowing that I'm not going to be with him anymore since we're moving to a different country. Like, you don't realize how invested you're going to get into this family and the kids. So much so that I postponed our move to, we're moving to India. I postponed the move so that I could attend his parents' wedding. Like, that is how invested I am in this family. So, it happens.
Yeah, and you know what's... So you brought up to me before that you've actually spent more time with that kid than one of his parents?
Oh, yeah, no.
Like, that happens in several jobs, right?
Yeah, so for that job in particular, I did the math one day. I sat down and did the math. And I spent 80% of his life, 80% of his time that he was awake with him.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to anyone else in their household, his parents, his grandparents, anyone, I had him 80% of the time he was awake.
Yeah, because you've got the other kid was at school, the parents both work full time. You know, it just ends up you're the one who actually is with the kid most of his life.
Exactly. It's honestly so surprising sometimes. And I do feel like great joy being able to be with him all of that time, but I also always feel a little bit sad for the people in his life that don't get to spend as much time with him because he's an awesome kid. Like, I taught him some really rad things for his toddler university experience. So you get really attached.
Okay. So what are some other limits you wish you would have known about before becoming a nanny?
The last thing I really, really wish I would have known before becoming a nanny was just how fast nanny burnout can happen. Honestly, guys, gals, all y'all, don't let people take advantage of you. Know your own boundaries. Take time for self-care. Please, I am begging you, do not push yourself to the point where you dislike what you're doing, because being a nanny is the best thing in the world. I cannot imagine a more fun job. A job where you get to sing Disney songs at the top of your lungs, dance around the living room in your pajamas. Like, you get to do so many fun things and be with people who look up to you and just love you for all that you are, and you love them for all that they are. Don't get worn out. So if you notice that you're feeling taken advantage of or you're feeling overworked, speak up about it. Don't feel bad about speaking up, because let's be real, the parents that you're working with, they would speak up if their boss was overworking them. They'd be getting paid overtime. They'd be complaining. They'd be getting annual bonuses and holiday bonuses. So don't let being your own boss don't let it become something where you don't have any control over your working environment. You want to be able to love your job.
Yeah, I mean, because like we said earlier, it can be a career, and you don't want to get burned out in your career. That can really have an effect on the rest of your life.
For sure.
Okay, so in review, 3 things that you wish you would have known before becoming a nanny: boundaries, money, and knowing your limits.
Yep, that basically sums it up.
Okay. Well, this has been Mike and Rainey.
Yep, make sure to follow us, guys, on Pinterest at OS Simply. And also, we are starting a Patreon. Woo woo! So go and find us there for some community support and love.
Until next time.
Bye.